All right, founders, it is time for another pitch deck critique and review. And this time we have a special one. This is a Y Combinator company. They are raising a seed round of $1 million. My understanding is this company actually pivoted. These founders pivoted as soon as they got out of YC. So it's a pivot right there. And we are looking at before and after. I'm happy to say that I'm involved with this company as their advisor during their fundraise. This is going to be exciting. Before we continue, my name is Ed Kang, 7-time funded founder with 2 exits. Just a fancy way of saying I failed a bunch of times to your benefit, because that's the reason I have this YouTube channel. I make these videos. I want you to learn from my mistakes. Not to say you're not going to make mistakes, but I want to try and minimize the damage. And if we can learn together so you avoid some of the catastrophic damage that I've caused to myself. It's hard enough as it is. I'm going to try to make your life a little easier, especially if you are a pre-seed or seed founder trying to raise your first check, get that traction. I'm going to help you out. If you're a founder out there and you want a pitch deck critique and review of your very own, stay till the end of the video. I have so many requests incoming all the time. We are doing a process. I'm going to explain it at the end of the video. Now, let me tell you the reason I have a soft spot in my heart for YC and YC companies. I think that I started my career in startups by watching YC's How to Start a Startup course from Stanford University right here on YouTube. Now, by that time, I already had one successful exit when I was starting a company in college when I was living in Florida. But I think YC helped me go from elementary or grade school all the way up to university and then eventually graduate and enjoy the career that I have so far. Now, while I haven't gone through YC, I did interview at YC. And it was during that interview that Kevin Hale, I'll always thank him, remember him to this day. If you're out there, Kevin, thank you so much. Just dropped this nugget of advice on how to go and get product market fit. And me and my co-founder took that advice and we implemented it. And suddenly our startup started taking off to the point where I didn't even have to go to YC. I ended up selling the company just a matter of a couple years later. And that's the reason I'm excited just to contribute a little bit, because I met one of the co-founders of this venture and I really liked him. And that's the reason I consider it a privilege and honor to participate in this fundraise. So thank you for letting me digress. Let's jump into this pitch deck. Like I said, I'm going to be doing a before and after. This is the before version, what they sent me, and then I sent them feedback. I'm going to show you what they did with my feedback and what it looks like now. You're looking at this cover page. What I like about this cover page is that you can tell they're YC founders, because YC coaches their founders to a very clear statement on their cover page of what their startup does. This is great for a live presentation. This slide says everything that you need to know for the investor to understand where they are and where they're going to be heading with this presentation. Now, there are 3 factors that we want to pay attention to. First is India. Second is neobank, and third is for couples. These are going to be key terms that I'm going to be focusing on, because you've already established where I'm going to be going. My expectations are set. Here's the second slide. It says couples have evolved. The traditional joint account hasn't kept pace. Here's another sign that I know this is a YC company, because YC founders on demo day are taught to do these types of presentations where they're live on stage and you don't put a lot of information on text, stark contrast so everybody can read it. The issue is that I'm not going to be reading this as if they're on stage. I'm going to be reading as an investor, as attached to an introductory email. So now I've got this stark black and white slide and it says couples have evolved. Traditional joint account hasn't kept pace. Immediately, I'm taken out of the picture. I'm expecting something from India, but we're not talking about India anymore. And couples have evolved. How have they evolved? Traditional joint account hasn't kept pace. I don't know about that, because I've had joint accounts. My accounts are working just fine with my wife and all the accounts that I've had before that as joint couples. So what's going on here? And this is where I know what this founder is trying to do. They're trying to set me up for a journey and a narrative, but that's not appropriate in this case for a screener deck. This slide might be great for a live pitch, okay, but no, if you are trying to create a screener deck, you have to understand the context in which the investor is going to be looking at these decks. Now we've got another one. Problem. Big stark slide. Doesn't help. We've wasted time. Couples manage money together, start sharing expenses before getting married, blah, 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 blah. All right, you're setting it up, yet I don't know the problem. You're just telling me this is the state of affairs. This is what couples do. And I go, great, yeah, where's the problem? And you always want to start an investor deck with the problem. You don't have a lot of time. An investor wants to look at this in 3 to 5 minutes, and they're used to a certain type of format. Don't break out of that. Go with what the investors are used to. We're already back to this is going to be a live presentation. You don't need to be doing this. Don't do it. You're going to see how I fix it. Joint accounts are difficult. Now we're getting the problem. Only accessible to married couples, etc. Now here's the thing again. I know that we're talking about India and that's where they're going, but I'm already out of the game here because I don't know if you're describing a global problem because I'm not in India. You cannot take for granted your investor knows the context in which you are trying to explain the problem and solution. So as a second problem slide, it's too wordy, it's not clear enough, doesn't get me to the point fast enough. Now we got a solution slide, redundant again. We fixed the joint account. Really? You fixed which joint account? One joint wallet with 2 linked co-branded RuPay cards. I don't know what that means. I don't know what RuPay is. Accessible to couples at all stages of their relationship. Inferring LGBTQ. That's interesting to me. It takes 60 seconds to open, etc., etc. All right, you've lost me already. I'm going to have to go and reference other slides. I'm not clear on the problem so far because you've taken me on a journey, but I don't know where I am. I don't have a clear map for this journey. But let me just say, when I was talking to this founder, I know the idea was there. It was clear in their mind. How do we translate it from in their mind onto a screen or pitch deck so the investor immediately says, yeah, I want to give this startup a call. I want to contact them and look for a next presentation. Remember, you are not trying to get the investment decision. You are simply trying to get them to ask more questions and want to book you for the next meeting. Joint accounts, before and after. This is actually a great YC technique to show before and after. Once again, this may be applicable to India, but joint accounts don't take days to open for me. In North America, there's not a lot of paperwork, etc. Joint wallet, that's the couple, 60 seconds to open. I know there's something good here. There's a technological solution. It's just being poorly communicated. We built strong financial partnerships. All right, banking partners, card network, bill payments. That makes sense to me. That's great. Logos indicating social proof. Good thing here. Market opportunity, big slide, you don't need it. $220 billion, $5,900 a year times 37 million couples. Is this a top-down market analysis on everything, or is this bottom-up? I don't understand. You've lost me. But it's a pretty slide, and maybe it works. If you got voiceover and you're sharing it live, it's not going to work in a screen or deck. Same thing here, 1.1 take rate on card transaction. Details can be found in the appendix. This is another, I believe this is Indian currency, take rate on bill payments. Again, these are really great slides, but don't say anything to me as an investor as I'm skimming through them. 20 million Indian couples get married every year. That should be right up front. Now we're getting to traction. We got 980,000 GTV in 4 months. That's good traction, actually. I appreciate that. Now, this is what they did, which is really smart. They broke out their traction in months, especially because we're saying they spent $0 on marketing. The future of couple, joint credit cards, etc. At this moment in time, I really don't care about the future of couple. I want to know what you're doing right now. Where's your beachhead? Where are you going to land and expand and dominate a niche and make me some money for my initial investment? Here's the team slide, or it's supposed to be the team slide. You're telling me the team slide is coming next. These founders are impressive right away, which is great. I met with this individual right here. Fantastic. You can see that they've got the technical expertise to build the solution, which is what YC is looking for. I like the fact that they added here that they've got experience with the problems, engaged 1 year, live in relationship, etc. They are couples, and so they want to create bank accounts for couples. I like it. What I don't like here is the next team slide. You've got great logos here like IBM, which is fantastic social proof. But how many people do you have on this team? Do you have 30 engineers? 2 engineers? Are they full-time? What did they actually do for IBM? Were they founders of IBM? Obviously not. Were they major programmers or senior software engineers? I don't know what they accomplished at these companies, so this is a very weak team slide. Then we get to the ask slide, and they're raising $1 million for 12 months to open these amount of accounts, etc. We got the milestones. Okay, that's fine. Pretty decent ask, but we're going to make this better. We're backed by the best, entrepreneur first, and Y Combinator. I like it, social proof, but we can consolidate, make this deck a lot more efficient. And then we arrive at the back cover slide, which is supposed to be the contact slide. I personally think the contact should be much larger, but that's just me. Don't make it hard for the investors, but here we are. Not to mention we have appendix. Do not include an appendix on your screen or deck. It is pointless. Wait until the actual meeting to present everything and have an appendix ready to go when they ask questions. All right, so here's what I did. I took a look at it, and I didn't have to question whether the founders had the goods. We had a good startup. I can see that there's potential there. I just have to mine out the communication, sent them a whole bunch of questions, and I told them, get everything back to me, and we went back and forth on a few drafts. The drafts were just plain, boring, black and white text drafts, but then eventually we refined it down, and then we sent it for design, and I'm going to show you where we've arrived. We are on the cover page. They adapted this just a little bit. They said, we offer couples the easiest way to pay their shared expenses, India's first neobank for couples. Now we're on the problem slide. This is where we're going to start. Every year, 20 million couples in India get married, yet face challenges opening joint accounts. only to be rejected due to issues like not having marriage certificates, having different surnames, and joint accounts having high minimum balance requirements. Notice how I took everything that took them like 4 slides to get to. It's on your first slide. And every problem statement is best when it has the size, scope, and severity of the problem. You want to have these details in there. So that's the reason I put 20 million couples right up front. Tells the investor right away, this is a big market. And now think about the severity of having high minimum balance requirements. We're talking about the pain. This is all about the pain that these couples experience. But back to this initial number, there's 20 million of them. The only way this gets a little better is if there is an actual percentage number of how many people get rejected. Like the only way to improve this is to say every year out of 20 million married couples, 10 million of them get rejected due to this, this, and this. We did not have this information, so we're going to go with what we're able to objectively talk about. Here we get to the solution. Couple is a neobank app for Indian couples. We're staying on India. Notice I'm talking about India everywhere. India couples, both married and unmarried. I like that they added this in there. Offering digital joint accounts with 2 linked debit cards, in-app utility payments, and smart expense budgeting, set up in 60 seconds with no minimum balance requirement. Now we are identifying the top things that make their solution different. We do things better than the other banks. Let's just say that you can go out and you can get an account for a couple, but we do this faster. It's in 60 seconds with no minimum balance requirement. Immediately, you're better than every other bank. This couple could actually go get a bank account at a mainline traditional bank. But why when you can open up one in 60 seconds with no minimum balance requirement? Heck, you'd even have one of these bank accounts in addition to a traditional account. That's what I like about this solution. Now we get to the market. Notice how we went problem, solution, market, and they're all 1 slide each. We talked about 50 million couples in India transact 295 billion in gross volume every year. Now we're talking about this massive, massive market. And there's no way we're going to reach that whole market, but this is more of a top-down analysis. But see what we did here? We said, okay, if we're going to focus on 50 million mid-income couples, so that's a $3.2 billion market. How? We show the math. By earning 1.1% per transaction and this amount, not even going to try, to say commission on bill. So the calculation is there. So when an investor comes in, how did you calculate this is a $3.2 billion opportunity? They can basically say, if we get those 50 million couples using our stuff, that's as big as the market could get for us. The one improvement that I would add here is if we already have a TAM, I like Sam and I like Som. I'm a TAM, Sam, Som guy. Not everybody agrees with me, but I'd like to see some different market segments. But I do appreciate the math has been made available for everybody to see. Now we get to the traction slide. Normally we put the traction slide after the team slide or a little later in the deck, but I moved this slide up because they've got great traction. Look, in 4 months since launch, 14,000 accounts open, $1.24 million in traction. We are growing 120% month over month. And they got in a Y Combinator. That is really great social proof. You want to drop that logo everywhere that you possibly can. Next slide is how it works. This is a slide I wanted them to add in, because I had no idea how a neobank works. And I said, explain it to me like I'm in elementary school. I am a child. And that's what you want to do with investors. So I told them, give me the 5-step process. And pretty much they explained it. Step 1, you download the app. Step 2, fill in your details. Step 3, your account and debit card get activated in 60 seconds. Notice how they're harping on the competitive advantage there. Invite your partner, spouse through account through WhatsApp, which is fantastic. Your partner joins you and link debit card. And how this all works is they've got partnerships with the platforms that provide the neobanking. And we got this big headline that says it only takes 60 seconds to open a joint account. How it works, it's just very straight and simple. We've clearly demonstrated that there is a methodology, there is a process to back up the value proposition. Like I said, this slide was added in because it was not in there in the beginning. And this is what investors want to see. Here's the business model, just very straightforward. We say we earn 1.1 interchange commission and a certain amount of Indian currency per bill payment. And we just talked a bit about the future. We plan to launch lending offerings such as joint credit cards, insurance, and family banking. Now the investors thinking to themselves, wow, if this is already 20 million newly married couples or 50 million mid-income couples already existing, and we break into families, that's just going to get much, much bigger. And banks make serious money when they get into loans, credit cards, insurance, all that good stuff. This company is saying we're going to start with couples, but eventually we are going to take over banking in India and possibly the world. Now we got the competition slide, just straightforward. I told them add in logos. Show me that you've researched the actual banks out there in India right now and you can show the receipts that they have all these issues that cause friction, and then show how couple joint accounts are different. This competition slide is something that I consider a before and after state. So you're talking about the before, the painful state that they're in, and then you're going to describe how everybody's life is a lot better after. And that is a perfectly okay to do that type of slide instead of a magic quadrant or a features and benefits matrix. Here's the team slide again, and we just said plain upfront at the top, our team combines top-tier strategy consulting and AI research expertise with a proven track record in fintech and consumer technology. All right, and then we've got the receipt to explain, hey, we're good for it. We can actually back up this bold claim here. The only thing that they took out was we're married couples and we have experience with the problem. I'd like to see them put that back in. And then we have an accolade down here, selected to Entrepreneur 35 under 35, 2024 list. I like it. Those are really good accolades. The only thing that would make it a little different is if you showed a logo right here to explain Entrepreneur Magazine. Here is the ask slide. If you hung around me long enough, you know I like my ask slides to say we want to raise X amount of dollars for Y milestone in Z timeframe. That's what they did here, raising $1 million to open 150K joint accounts and cross 32 million in monthly transaction volume. And then the time frame is going to be by the end of 24. They're going to build credit offerings, and they've got all these other features like their roadmap. And then we talked about how much we've raised to date. So anytime you can integrate that XYZ information that I'm looking for into your ask slide, you're doing pretty good. The only other improvement that I would do is say we're a YC company and act like YC was maybe a lead investment right here, because people like to see that as confirmation of the fact that this is a startup worth investing in. If YC is going to invest, we're going to invest, basically treating YC as the lead investor. And then we get to the final cover slide. Notice how they made the contact information a little bigger, and I appreciate that. Is this company going to raise its full $1 million? I really do believe so. We're going to be working with them on contacting the right investors, all the outreach, all that good stuff. But if you're a YC company, you pretty much should have it in the bag unless something's really wrong. But I will be working with this startup to make sure that all those roadblocks are clear out of the way and they have the best chance to raise. Overall, this was a slam dunk. Super easy to build a pitch deck like this because you've got a great founder team with a great idea, and they have pre-existing traction because they've moved fast and they've already built an MVP that is working and making money. It really doesn't get much easier than that. And that's what other founders should really think about is before you start fundraising, make it as easy as possible and get all the traction and all those ducks in a row to make investors super impressed and want to invest in you right away, because there's going to be that FOMO, because if they don't invest in you right then, you're just going to keep growing and growing and attract other investors, and they're going to be squeezed out of the deal, especially at early stages. That's it for this one. As promised, if you're a founder out there and you want your own pitch deck critiqued and reviewed, leave a comment and then you will get a response, and we're going to go back and forth and communicate. I'm going to make sure that we're on the same page and that you're part of the program before I do your pitch deck critique and review. If you're sticking around to the end of this, my heartfelt thank you to everybody who participates in all the programs, who's part of the community at startups.com. I would always appreciate a like, comment, subscribe. I'd love to hear what you think, especially for these founders. Do you have some encouragement? Do you have some other suggestions? Let's continue to collaborate and work together. I appreciate the time that you spent here today. I will see you in the next video.